I want to thank you for joining our September 28th Intermediate Planning webinar. My name is Dan Ba, and I am one of the Precision Business Planning Specialists here at AgSolver. And in today's webinar, we're going to be going over Veris mapping fields. And this is actually going to be a two-part webinar series. So today we are going to be going over just the basic cost structure and the potential economic payback of looking at Veris mapping within fields and then comparing that to soil sampling based off of grid or based off of Sergo Soils map data layers. So, and we'll be working possible scenarios, analyzing the cost structure, and then comparing return on investment zones. And then the follow-up webinar, which will be in November, is when we actually completed the Veris soil sampling and then create prescriptions as intended prescriptions based off of variable rate lime according to the Veris maps. And then on the other hand, we'll create variable rate lime prescriptions based off of a basic soils map or grid map. And then also with fertility and seed and how we use Profit Zone Manager and use it as that validation tool. And one point that I want to stress today, that using Veris mapping layers as an additional tool within the precision business planning process to create better management zones and better management decisions within Profit Zone Manager. So combining both tools, and so this is going to be a scenario that we're going to be working on throughout fall. So, and before we hop into Profit Zone Manager, I do want to mention that we are in Q&A mode. So if you have a question, please type your question in the chat box below, or you see my contact information. You have my email, our support@agsolver.com email, and then also my cell phone number. Now we'll go ahead and hop into Profit Zone Manager. Minimize that. So in the field, one of the fields that we're going to have Veris is the James field. And this is a field that we picked up in 2015. Didn't have any prior yield data. All we had to go off of was a soils map. And we just treated this field like any other field that we have in our management operation. But for some reason, this field out yielded the rest of our corn production fields by about 30 bushel. When we look at a specific soils map and then overlay that with a yield map, there was a stark difference where this area in the field, it should have only went 120 bushel, but that in that specific area it went 230. So variability within this field does not follow a soils map whatsoever. So what we're wanting to do is utilize that Veris mapping data layer, show and help us understand what is really going on in this field. And then we're also Verising other fields that have been in a long-term no-till cover crop operation that's been in that for 12 to 15 years. Prior, this field was conventional tilled. And then we want to see where we can go if we still are running this field in 5 to 10 years, where we have come with this field. So, but when we look at our 2015 performance, to give you a little context of what actually happened in this field from an agronomic standpoint, planted the population at 36,000. We're in 20-inch rows. It was a no-till field, and yield, you can see there, was right around 245 bushel. So within this field, it's the big outlier of why did this outproduce every other field. And so in 2015, in the fall, we did have this field gridded on 6-acre grid. So we have all of that grid data layer. And that grid was at $6 an acre. So that's actually the first scenario that we are going to create. So what we're going to do is create our scenario based off the grid data layer. So we will name this 6-acre grid soil sampling. Go ahead and click save. Actually, we will delete that. We'll create it instead of and base it off of the 2015 yield instead of 2016. So, and then after we create that scenario, we will edit the crop budget to represent our 2017 inputs and commodity prices. So we have our commodity price, equipment, seed corn, cover crop seed, fertilizer, herbicide, insecticide costs, insurance, interest, grain handling, hauling, land cost, overhead, home, personal, and then in the custom hire is where I will add subcategory of grid soil sample. So in this example, we're going to be comparing the cost analysis of a $6 grid compared to a $13 Veris soil sample, and then equate an additional payback of what we'll have is $15 payback from the variable rate lime recommendation, fertilizer recommendation, or seed recommendation. And then in our post webinar in November, we'll follow up and see if that actually target. So grid, we're going to put in $6 and click save. Modeling up what 2017 looks like for this field. So really at the end of the day, really almost breaking even on this field. Have a little profit of $8.34. And so, but our next scenario that we're going to create is our Veris soil sampling. And we'll base this off of 2015. And then we'll edit our budget. With our 2017 crop budget, we will scroll down, and for our custom hire, Veris at $10 an acre. And what we're going to do, say we're going to have an economic payback from the Veris by implementing that variable rate lime fertilizer or seeding rec on this field. We'll say we're going to have an economic payback of $15. So talking to our service, he said we could easily pay for this in 1 year, and the profit is anywhere from $9 to $23 an acre. A profit over soil sampling by grid or by soil type. So we felt comfortable at putting $15 in there. So we go ahead and click save. So now we have a little bit more profit on this field. So next thing that I'm going to do is compare scenarios of our 6-acre grid compared to our Veris soil sampling. So right next to the options drop-down menu, right beside the field name, first option is compare scenarios. And on the left-hand side, we're going to have our 6-acre grid, profit performance, and then compare that to our Veris soil sampling. From a economic payback for us, um, we're pulling the trigger and going to have this field soil sampled. Overall field profitability from a profit per acre increased it about $8. Return on investment took it up another about 1%. But more importantly, we take total field profit. Originally, say we create a variable rate fertilizer prescription based off of the soils data layer, where we're making $600 on this field. But if we create it off of the Veris prescription layer, now we're making about $500 more, $400 to $500 more. So, and granted, um, this is all projection, and really when we come back around in November, beginning of December, and we have those Veris prescriptions made up, we can compare, say, a flat rate to the Veris rate, and that's really where we want to get to, is achieving that higher level of accuracy within the fields. So now I'd like to open up for any questions anyone might have, and this webinar is the building blocks of what's to come within this scenario. One of the major updates within Profit Zone Manager that we will have is the ability to validate as intended prescriptions. So you can create a prescription, whether that's seed, fertilizer, lime, bring that in before it's even implemented and see the potential economic return, profit, and return on investment. So then we can select which VRT would be best from a agronomic and financial standpoint. So if there is no more questions, um, so Eric asked, by soil sampling, by better zones, could we track difference in fertilizer used? So yes, we can track the types of fertilizer used when it comes to as applied data or as applied fertilizer. We could put the exact product applied on those fields for the rate and then the price per ton for that rate applied. So you can also select, all right, and mix and match your fertility options. And so, and what we did on the James field, we're in 20-inch rows, so we front loaded all of our nitrogen with anhydrous and a dry spread. And now we're going to be moving towards fertilizer on the planter in a 2x2 offset and also in the furrow. So you can track those specific products and measure really X by Y by Z to see what was the financial performance per product applied on a field. We can create those based off of planning scenarios and the potential impacts. Eric, did that answer your question? And so in that update is going to be within about the next month or less, where we can measure X by Y by Z. And then there will be a report along with that. Okay. And so what we're really excited about is in using the Veris data. From our standpoint, we want to compare a field that's been in long-term no-till and cover crops operation, and then use that as a benchmark of where we have come, and then use this information on a field. Say it's been in conventional tillage, and then we want to see and track the foundational process under our management systems and conditions. And then in 10 to 15 years, if we're still farming that field, we want to Veris that field again and then see how far we've come, increasing our organic matter levels. And so that's what we're really excited about. So So if there's no more questions, I want to let everyone know that this webinar will be posted on YouTube, our AgSolver YouTube page. And if you want to have on one sit-down webinar and create those more advanced scenarios within your Profit Zone Manager account, within your enterprise and on your fields, please feel free to email me or give me a call. We can set up a one-on-one webinar. I want to thank you for joining our September 28th PZM Intermediate Planning webinar. Thank you.